Good evening, welcome to the IELTS test. Okay, this test has three parts. Before we start, make a short introduction about yourself.
Okay, so my name, you can
Okay, Lucy, you can remove. So we'll move on to the test. Your topic is on education. Do you work or are you still a student?
well at the moment I'm doing a bachelor's degree course in Queen University.
What subject did you choose and why did you choose?
Well, I've always loved environmental science, especially the different flora and fauna of nature. So I took up and pursued my career in biology.
Can you describe yourself as a good?
Well, I'm not an interviewer, especially in when the subjects aren't interesting, but I can be a teacher's pet whenever the lessons trigger.
Did you enjoy studying at school?
Well, I'm not a bookworm. I never really liked school because some humanities subjects are some humanities subjects are gave me a lot of workload. But if you fortunately have wonderful classmates, being at school could be pretty.
Are you studying English now?
Yes, uh, I'm doing distance learning. I've been taking an intensive course on the internet where you have to attend class.
End of part one. You're going to move on to part two. In this test, you're given a topic. You're given a minute to prepare for the topic. After a minute, you are going to speak for more than 2 minutes. Okay, so here's a pen and a paper. On. And I will tell you when to stop writing, when to start. You have a minute to prepare. Right here, 1 minute is up. You can start by saying what is your.
So I'm going to describe the period of time from my studies that was difficult for me so far. So I'd like to begin by highlighting it was my last year as a high school student, and I have to complete all the tasks, else I wouldn't be able to pass. Going on to how hard task was. It was indeed difficult due to the enormous amount of homework that I have to done after every lessons, projects that I have to do every unit, and all the tests, exams that I have to prepare tirelessly to get a high mark to pass. And moving on to how I was able to cope up with all the academic stress. So, although there wasn't any time to goof around and play truant, I managed to set aside some time for me to rest because I deem this is important. If you become too overwhelmed with your studies, we might lose focus and thus putting all our effort in vain.
Which do you think is more difficult, high school or university?
Well, I think that university may be more difficult because the amount of work and lesson in university is larger than in high school. But I think this in high school is more stressful than university.
That's the end of part two. Moving on to part three. These are questions which relates to your answers in part two. What are some essential qualities every teacher should have?
Well, in my opinion, every teacher should have the only the three three qualities. First, the teacher should be able to catch the student's attention. Secondly, the teacher should be the subject specialist and knows everything about his or her craft. And finally, a teacher should be should know the student's physical and emotional needs.
What are some pros and cons of studying on a distance learning course?
Well, I think that engaging on this type of studying is pretty advantageous, mainly because it gives us more time flexibility, which is very advantageous just when we have a job. And besides, distance learning are fairly cheap compared to face-to-face classes. Although it could be argued that the task could be very difficult since you have to do everything solitarily.
Does everybody get equal opportunities to study?
Definitely. Well, I think it depends on the country that you live in. Some countries provide free education while others don't. Besides, also depends on your financial capability. Some schools, although some schools have very good education and all, but they're too expensive. It's so expensive that only a small fraction of people could afford to study in it. So, conclusion, if you can have better education if you have the resource.
Right, that's the end of the test. Thank you so much and congratulations.